So that's what struck me in talking with you all beforehand on this. I mean, it seems like the teams, particularly Bill and Pete, I think kind of the teams you have, I think you look at as kind of a community service and giving back, essentially, given your successes and other, quote, for-profit businesses. I think, Jim, if maybe you could start going into some of your other points. I mean, I think you have a very different approach in terms of an entire development, where sports is one piece of it.
Yes. So I'm afraid we're going to stop. I won't get on my point.
I'll come back to every 5 minutes or so.
Look now, guys, we have a real window of opportunity now. And the concept is how sports can be the catalyst for economic development of the entire downtown. I mean, in fact, how sports and entertainment can be a catalyst for economic development in downtown. Now, what we have to do is, and this is really hard to do, if you have to put up with me on this, is I would much rather talk about 10 to 15 years from now than today. I just do. That's just something I like to do. And I keep reminding people that what we do today is going to determine what Wilmington's going to be like 15 years from now. It doesn't happen just or we can let it happen by accident. Good results without good planning is good luck. I've never had any luck. We can't rely on luck for the future of our community. So my notion is what sports can do to be a catalyst for the economic development of downtown. Now, there are a couple of things I think that there are a couple of things that I think are really important to the overall economic success of our community, and one is the university. That university and the relationship between the university and the city and the county in this area is probably the most important factor as it relates to our ability to get innovative companies here, to get people to move here. The educational system is number one in terms of people thinking about locating places. That's it. So I hope we have a good relationship and we're working together. That's something that we got to really work on because our future is tied to that university. That's a great asset. As a developer, the second thing you look at is, oh my goodness, look at that river. I mean, people, I had to build a river at American Tobacco. You do, right? That river is a great asset for future development. There needs to be a willingness on the part of government to engage in public-private partnerships. Any development that happens down here, the city and the county are going to need to do infrastructure improvements. They're going to need to do parking decks. Parking is always the biggest problem with development, and they're going to need to be some incentives. Now, the next part of that is, and I don't know this, is how well do the city and the county work with developers? Now, I'm to the left side of the line, and I don't want unreasonable zoning. I don't think developers are wonderful. I don't think it's not, will the city and the county let developers do anything? It is, will the city and the county work with developers to get projects approved? It took me a year to get my lot subdivided in Raleigh. I mean, we develop in Raleigh in spite of the city. That's true, right? So what kind of operation do we have in the city and county as it relates to working with developers and getting projects approved and figuring out how to get things done rather than that you violated Rule 400. Another part of the future, and I'll quit. I've got half of them done. When I've looked at economic development, and I have now for 10 years, look, there were very few companies that wanted to locate in downtown Durham when we started. I mean, the reputation of downtown Durham, they didn't deserve it, but it was not good. So we worked on the strengths. And the biggest strength I found, other than the universities, was a diverse community. How does the community embrace diversity and make it a part of what's going on? If you want to recruit innovative companies, if you want to get the right people to move to Wilmington, if we want to grow Wilmington, then this has got to be a diverse community. There are lots of different ways. And I'm not talking about just racial diversity. I'm talking about age diversity. Everybody's getting old, right? We're getting old. No, just me, not you, just me. Right, I mean, there's lots of diversity issues, but it's not going to happen. If you've ever read Richard Florida, the creative class, and now he's written a book called The Importance of Place. In the Importance of Place book, he says the single most important decision you'll ever make in your life is where you're going to live. Because some areas are going to grow and some areas aren't. And one of the key factors he has on that list is the diversity in the community. The public-private partnerships, how well do you work with the developers, the river, diversity. So here's the plan. There's one other point. Is what I've noticed is, and if you look around at successful people, the most successful county I would argue is Wake County in terms of what it's been able to do. And they were able to do that because they put in a hotel, motel, and prepared food tax, an occupancy tax, 10 or 15 years ago, and they used that money to build public facilities, the convention center, the performing arts center, the soccer complex, the amphitheater. It just goes on. And all the facilities, the infrastructure that we have to have if we're going to have the quality of life that we want to have, they use the hotel, motel, and prepared food tax. Now, we might have one. I mean, I really don't know, but getting that in place and setting it up so the city and the county can build the public facilities is key to how we do over the next 10 to 15 years. If we have to fight over every facility, every time there's an election, and people run for office based on whether we're going to have a stadium or performing arts center, and that gets involved in all that stuff, we're not going to get anywhere. The notion is we give the city council and the county commissioners the money they need to build the facilities that we need over the next 10 to 15 years. So the idea is a baseball stadium on the river. I know the Carolina League would like to put a team here. My notion is that the city and the county should own the facilities. I don't want to mess up anybody's plan, but if I were the city, I would want it to be my ballpark, and I'll lease my ballpark to an owner as long as I like that owner. Right? You don't want to, so we need to build a ballpark and find an owner that'll lease the team. We need a performing arts center. I told you, I'm just telling you what we did, where we are. We sold, listen to this. At the Durham Performing Arts Center, we sold 83,000 tickets to Wicked. A performing arts center that can bring the right with the right promoter that can bring people into here would would be enormous. So we build a ballpark, we build a performing arts center, we're by the convention center, and then we work with as many developers as we can find to develop around those facilities. You know, hundreds of thousands of feet of commercial space, residential space, some retail space, not a lot, and then we've got North Carolina's #1 downtown. Easy as 1, 2, 3.
So do you? So do you think a city or county funded facility is the best option, or really the only option?
That is my preference.
But is there another option if
It
that's not
is.
the
I mean, we did the stadium in Durham. That's owned by the city, and that's their ballpark, and they're proud of it, and we're renting it from them. By the way, you do a lot of entertainment at the ballpark other than play baseball. We also had a team in Myrtle Beach, and in that Myrtle Beach built the ballpark. From the city and county point of view, I wouldn't want to have my ballpark. This is the city's ballpark, and we'll get an owner to come in here and play. Now, I know there might be some other ideas. I really don't like all those other ideas because they are you don't know what's going to happen long range, right? The city should have a ballpark. The city should have a performing arts center, and then we get a promoter for the performing arts center, and we get an owner for the ballpark. That's just my preference. That's the cleanest. Everybody knows who's in charge. That's the plan I would suggest. Mm-hmm.